is today to speak about the role of ICT to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Since many of the speakers has already talked about this topic, I think I can shorten some of the slides, and many of the ideas here are, and that is something which is, I think, very positive, also by some other colleagues in the days before, without having spoken with these colleagues on this topic. So we can see that here there is some convergence of ideas about the role of ICT for SDGs, and also about the, say, responsibility of us as computer scientists to work in this area for a better planet. So first, and I think this could be shortened because of the many presentations already on this area, I want to speak briefly about Sustainable Development Goals, then about ICT and Sustainable Development Goals, and what is important, I think, in the framework of WIT4 and in the framework of the audience here, is to speak about the role of computer societies and academia in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, to speak briefly about some exemplary possibilities of contributions of ICT to SDGs. I think we could fill a whole conference on this. And how could we work towards a compliant ICT working effort for SDGs? So in September 2015, United Nations member nations agreed on the SDGs after a long time of preparation and debates. And we can, as computer scientists, say that VCs and the Millennium Development Goals are important for the mindset of formulating the SDGs. But we should be aware, if we read the SDGs, ICT explicitly is not mentioned in a too prominent manner. I would hope it would be much more prominent, but implicitly we can see many, many, many points where ICT is really important. To cite the Millennium Development Goals literally, so we said there is an eminent role on STIs, on science, technology, and innovation, as well as the dissemination of these new technologies in most of the practical steps leading, and that is, I think, something which is identical for SDGs and the Millennium Development Goals. Practical steps leading to a society where no one should be left behind. So this is the phrase, and I like this phrase very much. Ramon also speaks about equity. That is exactly this, a society where no one should be left behind. And if we speak about enlightenment or the French Revolution, it was always liberty, égalité, equality, and then the next step, which is, I think, still not achieved, fraternity, brotherhood or sisterhood of us all. So, about the SDGs, I think I can make it very short. There were 17 SDGs with 169 targets, and this is built on 3 pillars: economic, social, and environmental factors. And that is all, again, towards a sustainable and safe planet where nobody should be left behind. But what is now really new, and I think that is something which is important for the people here, especially from the developed countries. The SDGs are not only binding in some way, because it's signed by everybody for developing countries, but in the same way also for the developed countries. So every country has to look to fulfill the Sustainable Development Goals. No one country can be exempted. The Millennium Development Goals was different. We say, okay, poverty, $1 per day, etc., but always speaking to the developing countries. Now it's different. It's also binding for the developed countries. And as usual, Switzerland is always a role model. Yeah? So you have already developed, and in January this year, it started, the SDG started at the 1st January 2016. And January 2016, there's already a Swiss strategy for SDGs, and not about to fulfill it until 2030, but what could we already do now for the next 5 years? I think this is a very perfect way how to think about sustainability. We should start now. And also academicians, people from universities, schools, etc., they should be aware that this is something very important, because I am quite sure that in 5, 6 years, then many countries will say, okay, what should we report at the high-level meetings? And then they will start to think. We should start now, as Switzerland did. There are also some think tanks in Latin America, they're getting ready for Colombia. India started also already in January to say we should start immediately. So it is something really important. I don't want to repeat this because Ramon did it already. And explicitly, only in a few places we can find ICTs. For example, here, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. And here ICT is explicitly mentioned. But of course, these are perhaps even the more impressive goals to be achieved. But Ramon did it already on the first day of the, and then reduce inequality. So we are always striving to diminish inequality. And here again, there's something where ICT is very much explicitly mentioned. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. So the possibility, the power of ICT to strengthen partnerships. As we heard here many, many times, the function of ICT for networking. So, why I say SDG and ICT are so important? Why ICT is the enabler? If you look to the past, we can say no other technology is so important in the last years as ICT, innovation, efficiency, effectiveness. Yesterday we had a very nice talk about this from the Italian professor. The ICT community did also a lot in the VCS process to have this kind of people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented information society, at least nice wordings, but also a lot of efforts by all the stakeholders of VCS, the NGOs, the countries, etc. And as Ramon said, bridging the digital divide, which is the other side of the coin of digital equity. Perhaps it is really better to speak about digital equity, to say positively. And so the fundamental aim of VCS was always to improve people's lives through a better use of ICTs. And this is not new. And even some politicians and smart people, and already in 2008, Professor Mahbubani, professor of National University of Singapore and a diplomat, he also told us, look to the Bangladesh economy. The Bangladesh economy has gone up because of mobile phones at that time by 2%, and that surpasses the money given to Bangladesh through aid. So here you see the power of ICT, and now yesterday's keynote pointed out even more dramatically, I think productivity, etc., could be enhanced very much to ICT, much more than development aid, etc. And here are some examples of Mahbubani already from the year 2008. For less than 1 penny per minute, the world's cheapest cell phone call rate, that is what India has, in remote can check prices and their production, so we don't need the middleman anymore, and that increases the income. And that could be also very much true nowadays in Latin America. So Indian farmers use camera phones to snap pictures of crop pests, then send the photos by cell phone to biologists that can identify the bug. This already 2008. Now we speak about the new area of human computation. There's even a new journal of human computation. In fact, if we look backwards, this was already started and triggered long ago. So what is about IFIP? Has IFIP slept this all the years? No. Yeah? Already in 2005, IFIP established the working group ICT and Sustainable Development. And you can see here the wording. The interaction amongst the social, environmental research, so exactly the same words nearly as the words in the SDG document. And what is nice, this working group also covers the important aspect of early warning on possible negative impacts of ICT applications. It's like Kai's intervention before, privacy, etc. So it's not everything is positive. Yeah? And that is a nice thing that this working group is saying, okay, we will look to the opportunity but also to the threats. And many of you work with SWOT analysis, etc. We should always look to both the opportunity and threats. So now, what are the computer societies doing to prevent this kind of threats and negative effects? So if you look to ACM Compute Code of Ethics, it is very general. So we say, okay, contribute to society and human well-being, be honest and trustworthy, it's always good. Know and respect existing laws pertaining to professional work, it's also good. So general ethical laws. We look to the software engineers, the joint group ACM IEEE Computer Science Joint Task Force. They have very nice 8 principles. They are all here. Public. Software engineers shall act consistently with the public interest. Client and employer. Software engineers shall act in a manner that is in the best interest of their client and employer, consistent with the public interest. Very nice. Product. Software engineers shall ensure that their products and related modifications meet the highest professional standards possible. So then we don't have this kind of questions. What is about Internet of Things or something? If we follow this kind, that was your question. If we follow Code of Conducts, then automatically it should be nice. If judgment, software engineers shall maintain integrity and independence in their professional judgment. Management, software engineering managers and leaders shall subscribe to and promote an ethical approach to the management of software development and maintenance. Very important, we will see in an example. Profession, colleagues, and self. So I don't want to run out of time. And now I ask you, why is it so important? As an example, and I don't want to blame here Volkswagen, yeah? But just to take Volkswagen-like cases. If we look to the Volkswagen-like case, it is not yet closed. And I know German engineers. German engineers, my students also in Austria, we are quite, I think, very much environmental driven, yeah, conscious. So it is nearly impossible to hide this kind of fake software, in my opinion, for so many years, for so many people in Germany. Yeah? Everybody, because the German society, the German students, they are very environmental. So if you have 100 engineers, at least 20, 30, 40 perhaps, are sympathetical with the Green Party. Yeah? Yeah? And they behave like that, they are vegetarian and I don't know what. I know my students, and I know my engineers. So how is this possible? So here, and that's why I say management is important. So you know in software engineering we have the information hiding principle, etc. You can make specifications, divide the work of people, and so you could do it in a way that you don't even know what you are programming. And that is an ethical question. So just shown, I have only 5 minutes left. So management is here very important. Of course, product is important. Yeah? Client and employer. At the end, you are also damaging your employer. Huh? Volkswagen has to pay billions now, perhaps. So it is a problem. And software engineers are really in the forefront. A few months ago, there was the Karlskrona Manifesto on sustainability. And what they want is to have innovation in sustainability, both to benefit present and future. A very nice document. I really recommend you to read it, because it is really holistic in the way that we say sustainability is systemic, has multiple dimensions, concerned independent of the purpose of the system. So many principles which are really important, and also, and what is always important with sustainability, long-term thinking, and not short-term profit thinking leading to damage like in the Volkswagen case. So perhaps I will skip this. Skip this also. Like Ramon, so I can skip this also. VSIS, there's a VSIS mapping of action line to SDGs. Here you have this kind of matrix. Ramon has spoken about this in the beginning. And perhaps I will just now concentrate on two issues. Education, which is really important, and say, what can ICT do for education? Because many people also ask me, just had the conversation with a colleague from Japan about education. So if we look to this kind of thing, we have very nice success stories in the past already. Wikipedia. When I bought my encyclopedia, it was really expensive. It was totally expensive, something like one volume is something like 150 euro, and you get it monthly. After you get number 24, it is a really investment. Yeah? And now this is, it's only for the rich. And now everybody could have. And if you look to enlightenment, to speak about French Revolution, etc., so one of the causes for enlightenment was the encyclopedia, Diderot and D'Alembert. Put the people into knowledge, and French Revolution appears, if you want. Yeah? We have open access, but now I would say we have also MOOCs, and I have quite a confidence that MOOCs will be very, very important for this kind of development. In some countries, like Pakistan, they already concentrate on this. And I very much would like to mention this kind of portal of Pakistan, where MIT, Stanford, and all this, they just collect all these kind of things, and you can look, and they're provided to the provincial universities, and this is a very nice approach. And there's even also another approach I like very much, Pakistan's video book about organic chemistry. So not even one word. It is just videos of teaching at the best universities collected about organic chemistry. Very nice approach, which also shows how we can use modern technology for education. Just to say, so SDG 4, this kind of knowledge transfer could be done very, very nicely with MOOCs and others. But we should also be aware that MOOCs are many times not for free. They are also profit-oriented. So we have to find even new models, business models, or whatever models, where national funding could be used, also using the languages, the national languages, as pointed out by Ramon also at the first day. But there are also barriers. If I speak such enthusiastically about MOOCs, we shouldn't forget that so many people don't have any access to MOOCs because they don't have even electricity. Yes? So, and now we see the interactions of the SDGs. So we have to be. So I am running out of time. So SDG 11 is another example for cities. And now to close, what could we do as IFIP? First, Code of Ethics should integrate SDGs in its core. Secondly, auditing of SDGs will be very, very important because all workflows should include as an integral part SDGs. We should use this kind of all models, big data, etc., for the SDGs. We did it in Austria. For example, to find child labor using Twitter is possible. So we can use the same methods. I say NSA for the good. Education first, support all efforts toward digital equity as a precondition for achieving SDGs. Digital equity is a precondition for achieving SDG. So last slide, IFIP's mission. We have to align all our efforts for utilizing ICT for the fulfillment of the SDGs in 2030. It's not much time, 15 years. And to put IFIP on the landscape of a paradigm for utilizing ICT as an enabler of SDGs based on digital equity. Thank you very much.